I grew up loving the Universal monsters. It was part of my childhood, really. And so the chance to be able to get to do something like this is so extraordinary for me. The key for us was to find a way to tell a story that felt relevant and fresh while also paying homage to all of the things that built the foundation of these monsters.
I want to care about the characters. I want it to feel real and feel tense and transport an audience to a different world, but also a familiar world.
What I felt very strongly about was the need to ground our movie in the real world. Ready? And action.
One of the beautiful things for us is to bring it into our world in this very ordered, very scientific, very modern place and just kind of wreak havoc with a monster.
It took about 3 years to develop this movie. It went through many iterations, but once you've really turned over every rock, hopefully the right version rises to the top.
The idea, the tone of the dark universe is that there are monsters living among us.
So how do you make something feel, otherworldly and fantastical and creepy, but still keep it grounded?
We are trying to approach everything as if this is the world that you should recognize. This is our contemporary real world.
Universal said, we'd really like Tom Cruise to be in The Mummy, and it turned out that he said he would do it, and I was so happy to be able to continue our relationship on for Mission Impossible. Tom brings an incredible sense of credibility and reality to anything he does.
I grew up watching these monster movies on Friday nights and Saturday nights when I was a little kid. I remember being utterly terrified and captivated by the worlds that they brought me into. The Mummy, the Boris Karloff one. It was very terrifying as a child, seeing that. The way that we approached this, I loved hearing how Alex and Chris talked about it, how they were going to honor the tradition of the monster movie, and also to be genuinely terrifying.
When Tom came in, he said, I want it to be real, and the horror should come from a movie like The Exorcist, which had an incredible sense of being real, as opposed to being artificial.
Even though our picture takes place in modern day, we're exploring that aspect of the underneath with the architecture.
When they started building the Crossrail in London, they started unearthing all of these ancient crypts and catacombs underneath the city.
London is basically built on huge burial grounds and tombs. It's a city that's been built upon cities, upon cities and cultures.
The Crusader tomb set, I walked into it and it was just massive. It's the sort of set you don't really get to work on these days because there's a blue screen and they'll add things later on. But this was a full-on, old-fashioned film set. You could feel the water coming out of the walls because they actually did, in fact, have water coming out of the walls.
The crew pays such close attention to detail, and I think the way to get an audience to really believe it is to feel the level of detail that goes into making sets like this.
The sets are magnificent. They're beautiful. They're haunting.
We have at least 200 people working in the art department on 10 stages at Shepperton, on the back lot, on location.
On the Prodigium set, we were trying to combine scientific worlds, how archaeologists work, and then also forensics. So this is an actual biohazard tent, and it's made by a company that provides them.
What I liked about that idea was if we're going to endeavor to ground the monsters in a reality, then let's do that. Let's ground it in science.
The early designs for Prodigium started off as a much more sort of sci-fi, clinical, lots of glass, polished surfaces, and sterile. But there was a sense that it had to be more grounded in reality, so that their headquarters should be in a place of some sort of history.
We were driving by a museum, and I said, what if the Prodigium was hiding in plain sight?
It developed down that, this was in the basement of a museum, and it should evoke that sort of Victorian architecture.
We looked at the Natural History Museum. You walk in there, and it feels like it already matched the Prodigium set.
So we came to the Natural History Museum, and they said, oh, do you want to see the specimen room, which is real?
We've got specimens going back to the 1760s. Probably the most exciting ones we have are the specimens that were collected by Charles Darwin.
The actual specimens that Charles Darwin found in the 19th century, which led him to write Origin of the Species.
Alex and Tom looked at the creatures from throughout history that are embalmed there and said, this room has to be in the movie. It is a great blend of our monster world and the actual world of science.
These modern monster films, they have to be frightening, but we're making it real for the audience. For me, that's what I want to see in a movie, where it just feels authentic and you can touch it. Real thrills, real scares.
We are living and breathing a world that we created, and now we get to really immerse ourselves within it.
Pan, this is November 4, 0909er.
I'd had this idea of creating a zero-G sequence for some time to really create something that is visceral and terrifying for an audience. That was really the goal. I read the script, and Alex had come up with the idea of a plane crash.
Tom said, yeah, this sounds great. We'll build a set, but we're also going to do it for real. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, we're going to do it on the zero-G plane. And he explained this whole process.
I grew up watching the space program. I'm an aviator myself.
Anything you do with Tom has to feel real and genuine as possible. And if we have to go into real space to do it, we'll do it.
Tom wants the richest cinematic experience for the people who spend money to go and see his films.
Tom always pushes the boundaries, and this is one of those.
Zero-G is mostly used for scientific research. It was really developed for the Apollo missions and for space.
This is the same weightlessness as in space, exactly the same. This is not a simulation. We inject the aircraft on orbit, and by a special piloting technique, we can make the aircraft believe as if it was in vacuum. It is putting the aircraft and everything inside the aircraft in a state of pure free fall.
This is real zero-G. It's like, in an instant, you know they can't possibly be on wires because of the way they're moving.
It's all real. It's a real set built inside a real plane that's actually really going to go 25,000 foot up and go zero gravity.
We're cutting into a shot that's already been shot back at Shepperton, and now we're just picking up from the front of the plane here to the back of the plane.
We're trying to make it look like the set that we've already shot on. So when we did the rotating set, this set is a duplicate of that.
I designed the sequence to give the characters something to do. They're struggling to get to a parachute and survive.
I'm just going to take you, parachute, try to get over here.
Exactly.
Boom. Yeah. Okay, well, watch your head. I have to get from point A to point B in the aircraft. I'm trying to get a parachute on her. So that's what's happening in zero-G.
We're in Bordeaux at the zero-G plane facility. We came and did rehearsal, a test flight.
We did 17 parabolas of zero-G flights.
The first time is extremely unsettling. Your legs and your arms are going everywhere. And then after a few rehearsals, we were able to maintain our body positions.
It was a challenge for sure, but it was incredible.
The longest 35 seconds of your life.
The hard thing with zero-G is on the climb up, the blood drains. If you move your head is when you can throw up because your balance goes.
I'm gonna need a couple of these.
But unfortunately for the actors, they have to be panicking looking around. So we'll see what happens.
Come on, let's shoot.
Here we
we are on the 0G Airbus 310, also lovingly known as the Vomit Comet. And we have our last 2 days of principal photography. Then what a great way to finish it off.
Tom is like a kid in a candy store. He cannot wait to get in that plane.
You don't know what's going to happen until we actually get there and do it.
It's definitely a situation in which you apply way more bravery than common sense, and Tom is a smart man to choose me because I definitely have way more bravery than common sense.
Let's do this.
Everything's got to be stunt safe, then you've also got to be aviation safe. We've made super soft lights. People might interact with it, but at the same time, it needs to be firm enough to push yourself away. We've got sponge on the wall. All the props are soft. They looked as good as the real thing.
We tether the camera to myself because I don't want it flying away and hitting the actors or any of our crew.
If we build the set and the center of gravity isn't correct, then that also affects the plane.
Everything has been choreographed down to the nanosecond, but anything could happen in 0G.
Who knows what's going to happen on these takes?
The plane will go through a 30-degree pull-up, and then a 50-degree pull-up, and then we will hear injection. We can cut the throttle and you go weightless for about 27 to 30 seconds. And during that time, we have to get our shot.
30, 40. Each fixture.
You know the shot, but you've got to find it while you're doing it.
You can't get your move over.
We want it to be wild and violent and erratic and spontaneous.
Action!
The first part, that's when your tummy does try to come out of your mouth. But after that, it's a wonderful feeling.
0G is exhausting. Annabelle is a real hero because she's never done anything like this before. She's a natural athlete.
You can do that!
We had 64 cycles of 0G, and within each cycle is 22 seconds to get this entire sequence. It's a dance. For an audience, they're just seeing it's happening in real time. There's no edit, it's there.
You can't beat physics. You can't beat the reality of what we've got here. And once you embrace that, it's fantastic.
Perfect.
Yes. We get it? Right.
One for the crew, buddy.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put out.
We had a blast. We got some incredible shots. Wait till you see this guy. She's never even done stunts before, and she's doing this. I'm very, very impressed.
Afterwards, looking at Alex experience the footage, that was very satisfying.
Oh my God. Oh my God, that's so good. It's never getting better than that. It's a testament to Tom's tenacity, but also I think it speaks to what we want to do in this movie, which is immerse the audience completely and totally in the experience of everything that these characters are going through.
We've done some cool stuff and some crazy stuff, but that was something we've never done before.
We've been really pushing the edges, and that's what I love to do with my films. That's a very unique joy. Look at how enormously talented Sofia is. Very powerful, not only physically, but emotionally.
I will be your queen.
What really separates the Universal monsters is that there's a real deep emotional investment in the characters. We look at the story through the monster's point of view, and Sofia is able to communicate it so deeply.
I don't think she's a monster. I think she's a survivor. She wanted to honor what she was about to become, but then all that was taken away from her.
You killed his wife. Their child.
They were different times.
at the heart of the Universal monsters. There's either a love story or a longing for something. Every day has been a series of choices designed around the idea of saying, how do we make the audience terrified of this character? How do we make the audience love this character?
Sofia Boutella came into my office not long after she had been in Kingsman. And when it came up in the conversation that she was a dancer and she had danced with Madonna and that she did street dancing, I actually excused myself in the room, went into Alex's office and said, come in and meet your Ahmanet. And there's no question, as soon as the meeting was over, Alex said, we found her.
Her soul is in her eyes, and that's her gift. And then I said, I literally can't make this movie without you, because I knew that no matter how wicked or evil she was gonna be communicating some kind of deeper pain in her eyes without saying a word.
When I read the script at first, I was finishing Star Trek, and there was also prosthetic for the character, and it terrified me to just be back having loads of prosthetics being put on me. But Alex talked about the character, and he wanted things to come from her more delicate as opposed to monster-like. She's a queen. And he showed me storyboards that he already had made with my face on it, and I was like, what would I say no?
Sophia, I want you to just move very, very slowly around.
We were in London, and Alex said, can we just improvise? Because they needed to see facial features. And all of a sudden, camera right, Tom just popped on the side, and I've never acted with him.
Yeah. Sophia, come in close.
Sophia, she brings a real exotic charm, exotic energy, and commanding performance.
We talked about the attraction between the two characters and how that was not something gross or aggressive, total opposite. And then you have those moments that are creepy and scary.
Ahmanet goes through a huge series of transformations, and we're using a combination of wardrobe, prosthetic makeup, and digital augmentation.
We did 23 screen tests in total. That's because every time you see Ahmanet on the screen, she regenerates, or she's in ancient Egypt, or she's fully come back, or she's dead again.
I wanted something that was slightly more beautiful, but still a monster, still a mummy, that would relate to what she was before she was bandaged. We've mapped her out into 5 stages.
Stage 1, where she lands in a pit, she is nothing but bone and rags, absolutely torn to pieces. And then she pulls herself together, literally, into this form as she begins to feed.
The more people she sucks the life out of, the stronger she becomes, so her muscles start to grow back.
Ahmanet is supposed to be completely crushed and destroyed from this plane crash. So how do we initially show that she's broken and twisted?
We came up with a move. It actually happened at the end of a day, and we're just messing around and came up with this very much like a twisted crab movement. And we got a contortionist in to take it to another level.
We have our motion capture performer, Claudia, to get this sort of cadence to her movements, which are very slow and deliberate.
I had looked at like different crabs and spiders. I saw like a crab walking to the side, and then so I started experimenting with like different walks to the side.
We got Sophia in and started using her flexibility and making her get as close as she could to doing it.
Stage 2 and 3 is where she's developing and turning back into her original form. Her facial elements are beginning to return, the cheekbones, the actual jawline itself. Alex was keen to explore the fusion of bandage and skin at a certain stage, and stage 3 is probably the best place for that. It's something known over thousands of years.
What we're calling stage 3, it's Sophia in makeup and wardrobe.
As she gets stronger and goes through more human beings, she goes into stage 4, where she almost does when you first see her go to the dark side.
So it's a very delicate stage where she becomes almost herself, and we can see all the colors changing from the monstrous stage she was before into this beautiful woman.
Stage 5, she's fully formed. That's when the body becomes stone-colored and the writing comes onto the body. The raised runes come from the Book of the Dead, so they do actually say something.
Ahmanet, she's a warrior. The training was a lot of conditioning, and I learned stick fighting as well. I was chained up. That was quite physically painful. Not because I'm chained up, it's just staying in that position.
She had to undergo a tremendous amount of physical stress for what we did in Prodigium because she spent day upon day upon day chained with her arms behind her back, having to act through these scenes with very hot steam venting through the floor.
And it was incredibly hot because I was wearing that suit, but I had to act like I was freezing. But it was so worth it.
Sofia, as the dancer that she is, she can move herself in ways that nobody else can.
Sofia's been doing a lot of wire work with us. This weird climbing move, we've got like a spider climb.
One of the great old adages is that the villain is the hero of their own story. And I think that you connect so deeply to her experience and to what she's been through because Sofia was amazing at it.
I want the audience to understand why she does what she does, even though you still don't agree with how she goes about it.
You see what she's created in Ahmanet, a very moving character, frightening character. Sofia's perfectly cast as the mummy.
Excellent. No, excellent, Sofia.
To have Tom Cruise in this movie is so huge for us. It just changes the game completely.
He's an awesome ball. All right, let's shoot this, baby. He fills you up with this childhood enthusiasm where you're like, I want to make the movie that Tom sees.
This guy wasn't lost. He was trembling on laughter.
I tell everyone beforehand, I said, just know this is going to be challenging. I'm not going to lie, you know? And if you're not interested in this kind of challenge, don't do it. We'll do something else together. But everyone jumped in, and it makes it fun.
He's Tom Cruise. There's nobody like him. He lights the way for us all. His passion, his drive, his determination.
You can hit me even way harder. Hit me harder. Exactly.
Tom comes from the zero ego. He's about pushing you to make sure that you're bringing out the best in yourself. And it's just that little turn in here for that camera to help. Thank you, mate.
Wade's been a stuntman, I think, for 26 years. He knows what it's like to hit somebody and to get hit.
I've just got some things to put here. That's safety.
Look at my eyes.
Safety. Just got 2 of those.
Wade, I trust with my life, really.
So this is going to be my 4th or 5th project with Tom. It's going to be good fun. A lot of action.
Tom is like, I want to get you right near the brink of death, and I want to put a camera on your eyes. But it's going to actually be really fun.
Action.
How's that, Jake? Great. That's it. You don't need to do any more.
Jake transformed from starting out to going through a very technical, challenging thing.
Tom spent once 40 minutes watching me train with his trainers because he wanted to encourage me through it. Like, who does that? But it meant a lot to him to, like, encourage his castmate. He's a guy who preaches, work hard so that when you do it, it's more fun.
The first part of the plane crash is the 0G. Then the second part is that the plane is doing this flip and a roll at the same time. And that's where this set will be used.
A spectacular set was built, which we call the rotisserie.
I know it had all been checked and we'd rehearsed it, but yeah, I really did think, okay, let's just put stuntmen in there. And then Tom's like, yeah, sure, I'll go in it.
The rig is live, stand by, and 3, 2, 1, go!
Annabelle is really game, too. She does crazy stuff, and she just does it. She's tough.
3, 2, 1, action!
She's delicate, but very strong. And it was a wonderful combination. It really enabled us to do this kind of stuff that we were doing.
I tell him that because he's Tom Cruise, he has to keep me safe.
Hold your breath, Annabelle. This one might take about twice or 3 times as long, okay?
What? He did it to himself. He became the hero of the world. If he's around, I have to stay safe. So it's really on him.
We're about an hour away from the studio at Winterfeld Woods. We've got both Ahmanet and Tom Cruise getting yanked all over the place.
And there's loads of trees so we can rig the Ahmanet throw and landing for Tom.
Jeez, this looks a little high. He's always hurt.
Should we do another one anyway?
Tom does all his stunts. He was going again and again relentlessly. And I was like, how do you do this? I feel like a stone. He was laughing.
We've got the ambulance barreling through the woods and they're fighting off zombies that are on the hood and hanging on the side. And, you know, they've got all sorts of obstacles, avoiding trees. We're pretty much off-road, as you can see. Tom's in the vehicle, and, yeah, that brings on the nerves because he's a good driver, but he's a fast driver, so we need to be right.
And then we filmed them inside the interior of the ambulance, rotating, and them being shaken around inside. And then we used gravity to let Tom come out through the door to make it look as if the spinning had spat him out. And what helps us on this project is Tom Cruise is involved, and he very much wants to use real effects.
It's like the only actor in the world who could find the frame mid-air 3 times. Like, it's really me. It's me. It's really me. It's me.
Tom is a life force, and I felt very brave around him. And that's an incredible gift to give someone.
I want my pulse going high. And what I like to do is translate that kind of pressure and excitement to the screen for an audience, because that's me. I'm that audience.
Can't learn that. Can't learn that.
And action.
Welcome to Prodigium, Mr. Morton.
Stay calm. Sometimes you need a monster to fight a monster, and in Henry Jekyll, we've got that.
A warning of monsters. Dr. Jekyll has quite a clear understanding of evil.
Putting Jekyll in the movie was something that we've been talking about from the very beginning. We've always had a character in the film that we thought would be the leader of Prodigium. And that leader of Prodigium, you might discover down the line, was one of our monsters. At a certain point, it became, well, wouldn't that be fun if it was Jekyll and Hyde?
We had a choice that we only were dreaming about, which is that it would be played by Russell Crowe.
All of a sudden, in the middle of the movie, to have that balance with Russell. Russell's a very powerful actor. He's a brilliant actor. And to have him play this character, I was excited when he said that he wanted to be part of it.
Tom was the first movie star I ever became friends with. So I'd always wanted to work with him.
They always kind of wanted to do a Butch and Sundance thing, and so we're doing a very, very strange version of that here.
The two of us on set together, I'd definitely been looking forward to that.
If you could just all stay here. Tom and I.
He came in the middle of the shoot to Shepperton. To say he brought a big presence is an understatement. It just was charisma and an enthusiasm for the movie.
Oh, I love you, man.
Russell Crowe. Let me tell you what that's like. You've got Russell Crowe. You've got Tom Cruise. 2 of them at the top of their game. These are titans of cinema that I'm playing with, and it's a real treat.
I shall hunt him till the ends of the earth.
And Russell gives you so much with his eyes and his presence across from you that it's just so easy to perform and to find the truth.
It's a hard and tough day for me.
The first thing I did was read the original Robert Louis Stevenson book, which I read when I was a kid, and I was re-engaged by it, definitely. It's quite a compelling little story.
Henry appears really friendly and like a gentleman, and that contrast makes it even spookier.
Approaching Jekyll, I was thinking about the two sides, how they relate and how they would be different. On one side of the coin, it's perhaps Stephen Fry. Shall we have that drink? And on the other side of the coin, it's perhaps Ray Winston.
Me? Your good friend Eddie Hyde?
Sorry, Ray, you're fascinating.
He's in an old building and he has state-of-the-art, high-tech, so he embodies a timeless guy in a modern world.
Henry's office is an amazing prison.
Dom said something really interesting. He said, Henry's office is like you're walking into a lion's cage.
We make Jekyll's office half tank and half office. He's a monster, and he's created this office to contain the monster half of himself. And so on a subliminal level, you understand the connection between those monsters in the movie.
She is merely the latest manifestation. She certainly won't be the last.
Because the character needed to be an enigma, we all went for this kind of three-piece suit, quite serious guy. Russell introduced a little flamboyance in some paisley ties.
I've done lots of movies where my costume's a bit of blue rag and some fur or something, you know, but going into this, it was like three-piece suits, gloves, fabulous shoes, ties and stuff, and so it was actually fun.
We had a lot of surgical tours. In fact, we raided most of Europe for them.
And then Steve Jung, who's our brilliant concept illustrator, designs the biomorphic tools, and then Dave Chesman and his crew makes them.
We've done an injector, which will have multi sort of injections on it.
Okay. Don't. Okay.
We have to go.
What's about to transpire is that Henry Jekyll and Nick are going to have the fight of the century.
Russell and I have known each other over 20 years. We've talked about working together, and now we're going to do this very cool fight. I'm really excited about it.
It wasn't really fleshed out on the page. We just made a pact between us to try and really do something with it.
They're physically challenging scenes, and also he brings a tremendous amount of energy.
They really went at it. And for everybody who's watching the monitors on the set, we're like, can you believe this? I mean, in the middle of this movie, Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise are slugging it out.
It was great fun. And there was definitely a few kind of ooh and ah moments from the crew when we were working together because we were going for it, man.
Okay, guys, as much as I would love to slam my head against the wall for a few more takes. All right, ladies and gents, I'm happy you guys got it. Thank you.
I really enjoyed cutting the fight. They're not just able to do the fight choreography, they're absolute masters of it. So they were just so free.
Ready, I'm offering you a partnership. You, people incarnate, me, your good friend Eddie Hyde. Hey.
One of the things I really deeply respect about Tom is that he's going to be coming out of the gate at 100 miles an hour, and you'd best be on your best game.
I've had a blast with Russell. Having that dynamic between the two of us was a lot of fun.
Okay, pieces, roll.
We are racing now towards the final conclusion of the movie.
Whilst the rest of London has a relaxing Sunday, walking around the garden, pruning their flowers, we are causing destruction in the centre of London.
Shooting in the streets of London when you're doing big action scenes is just a lot of fun.
We are in the main hall of the Natural History Museum. This is a spectacular location built in the 1800s.
The scope and majesty of this space is something that you could never achieve as a set on a sound stage.
I just want to reiterate that just be careful going down this stuff. And the shot was fantastic, and it's a beautiful location. So let's just have some fun over the next few hours, and I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you.
We're shooting Nick and Jenny escaping from the basement and realizing, oh my God, this is where we are.
We're running out, and both of us are slowing to the point. It'll just be like, it's like, we're running out. It's like, whoa, whoa. Let's try that. That kind of...
The sandstorm starts here in this room. So when the cameras start rolling, the wind machines will start blowing, people will start running and screaming.
Rolling? Rolling! I'm going to take you up and tell you why they come up. And we are set. And background, action! All right, guys, we're on the move. On the move. Thank you, everybody.
In the mineral room, we see further extension of Ahmanet's power to turn glass into sand, and it's a perfect venue for that because it's literally hundreds of glass cases.
You set the pace. Okay, I'll go off the pace. Try to go a little faster.
Alpha, mistake, 2, take 2, come and mark. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, action!
So we go from the Natural History Museum into this location, shooting on a Sunday so we can control the street.
It was the only day that I filmed in central London, and there's this sandstorm that I'm bringing to the city.
It is actually one of the scenes that Alex Kurtzman conceived in the very, very, very original vision of the movie.
I want the audience to experience what it would be like for a monster to come to our world in a real way.
We have massive fans inspiring the feel of a sandstorm. You really believe it's happening. All the extras are running and all the stuntmen are falling. The panic on your face is real and it's completely engulfing, and I love that.
I would be away from the fan and then turning around and then projecting my arms, and that felt quite powerful.
Sofia is able to put so much across simply in the way that her face looks that it's astonishing.
One of our biggest visual effects challenges is giving that sandstorm a bit of intelligence and illustrating that Ahmanet is in control of this sand.
There's lots of people watching, and all the London tour buses go by, and you can imagine the tour guide like, and here is the Bank of England, and no, look, there's Tom Cruise running away from some imaginary thing. I was like, look, Tom, I would really appreciate a running sequence. I'm a good runner, I'm gonna tell you. And he did not believe me. So I was like,
get me on the treadmill. It's my audition right now to run with him. And he was like pretending not to look, and then he started to look over and he was like, hey, how fast is she going? And after that, I got all these running scenes.
Annabelle, it's something that she was game for. She's very athletic, Annabelle, very athletic.
I think Tom has found his match in a running partner. I very much keep up to his dismay, I think. No, he loves it.
She's a very good runner, very good runner.
In this scene, Tom is engulfed by the bus. We were trying to come up with something very cool for the movie.
Cameras up!
It's just fun to play in these real-life streets and make them our home for the day. You can imagine that tomorrow morning in the financial heart of London, it's going to be littered with people on their way to work getting their coffee. And little did they know, Tom Cruise and little Annabelle here causing destruction the day before.
It's just more exciting when you feel the pressure and you know we're all pushing each other to do the best. I love to get the audience invested and really put them in a way where they don't know which way is this going to go and how many chances will they take with the story. And really, that's what we've been doing. We've been really pushing the edges of storytelling.
When Tom came on board, he made it very clear he wanted to play a man with no soul. He wanted to play a monster in and of himself. That was really exciting to us.
This is a story about a man who is dealing with a duality in himself.
Somewhere in there, fighting to get out, is a good man.
You don't know that.
In us all, there's a dark and there's a light, and it's a dance between the two throughout your life. So when you're presented with someone on screen who's having that internal struggle, but at the core of them is a good person, you really root for that.
The question of, is this man good or is this man evil, is played out over the course of the movie, both through his relationship with Jenny, but also through his relationship with the mummy. It's the devil and the angel on Nick's shoulder, and I think our job is to present really good cases on both sides.
The day of awakening will soon be upon us. You will become Set. The world will fall to your desire.
Doc, you said you could cure this curse. Get rid of it. Let's do it, Doc. What's your plan?
Mr. Morton, these things are complex.
He just basically wants to relieve himself as being her chosen and the curse. You know, can it just be someone else? And I think the concept of that is really interesting and exciting.
I was not going to kill him. I was going to give him eternal life. You will take his place.
When you're making this type of film, you all have to know where you're going. And how do you constantly carry that audience through the story in a way that you keep them invested in the characters?
One of the things that I think Tom does so uniquely is playing guys who are really morally challenged and yet making them lovable.
And you keep them just surprised enough where they're still tracking with you and enjoying the ride.
Give in to me.
Nick is charming, and you want to keep the audience there.
We're just never gonna happen. And it's not me. It's you.
But at the end of the film, he becomes a monster. but he becomes a monster by doing something selfless. So he gives up everything. His humanity puts him into the position where he has to be a monster to bring Jenny back. It's one of those things you just hope an audience embraces because I think it's really cool.
It's amazing to watch a cinematic great like Tom really take such a turn with the character, you know, going into a very unknown place and the physicality of it. And Tom is such an amazing emotional actor, but he's an incredible physical actor. And the way in which he uses his body to get to a level of performance, it's mind-blowing.
It's also judging how far do you go. I want it to feel real and feel tense, and I think we have to be bold in the presentation. I hope that an audience really enjoys that and is surprised by that turn. And it's kind of fun being a monster. There's something that I think is really interesting about it. That duality, being a bit of a devil, is something fun to play. It is fun to play. As an actor, it's fun to play.
It's really the story of a man who has to lose his soul in order to gain his soul. A human being who, in many ways, becomes a monster to find his humanity.
I think it's a very important message that the monster universe gives us all, that we are all flawed and imperfect, but if you connect with someone's truth, you always find the good in them, and I like to believe that. There's always good.
Monster movies by nature are about duality. It's about the darkness, it's about the lightness. What does it mean to not have a soul? Can you be a better person?
To play with classical themes that I enjoyed as a kid when I saw these films. To be able to make it on this scale, it's been top to bottom a very exhilarating and exciting time.